Hey everybody, this is JDGaming, welcoming you back to another episode of 4 Fun Facts in Yu-Gi-Oh!, the show where we discuss just that and hopefully learn something new along the way. The Duel Terminal was an arcade machine that launched in 2008 and featured both classic reprints and brand new cards during the 5Ds era. It was the first appearance of the speed duel format, with its smaller duel setup and cards used a fancy dual terminal foil technology that's similar to what was recently reprinted in Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1. While the original run of the aforementioned Hidden Arsenal series formally released a majority of the cards that debuted in Duel Terminal as either secret rare or super rare cards for the TCG, the Duel Terminal editions of the cards had a special feature that allowed them to be used with the arcade machines themselves. They did this with a tiny QR code that's essentially invisible to the naked eye. However, shining a strong enough light through the front of the card and then looking at the back reveals a code in the center. This is what allowed the machines to recognize and render our cards in a similar style to the holographic 3D many Yu-Gi-Oh fans grew up with watching the anime. A separate aspect of card backs is the logos. OCG cards have a different Yu-Gi-Oh logo than the ones we use in the TCG, which is part of why you can't mix and match cards between territories. Pictured here are Japanese OCG and Korean OCG logos, the relatively new Rush Duel logos from those two territories, and of course, the TCG one we know and love. However, there exists another kind of card that's quite unique. Asian English cards are kind of what you might expect based on the name. The front of the card is printed in English like any comparable TCG card, but the back has a different logo. Interestingly, this logo originally maintained the Chinese characters or Japanese kanji for the Yu-Gi-Oh logo as seen in the Japanese OCG cards, including Yu-Gi-Oh in English at the top. But instead of including the bluish-gray katakana characters that read 𝕮𝖆𝖇𝖑𝖊𝖓𝖙𝖘, it instead reads Trading Card Game in the same font as our TCG cards. This has the potential to create quite a lot of confusion. While we started receiving set language abbreviations such as EN for English on cards starting with Soul of the Duelist in October 2004 as part of a general TCG standards alignment, cards in the West simply did not have such an indicator prior to this. And while the Asian English print lagged a bit in set releases and therefore had the language abbreviation AE assigned as early as their Invasion of Chaos set, cards from Dark Crisis or before can only be distinguished by looking at the logo on the back. They do not have an AE designation. Because the backing cannot be different within a deck even in opaque sleeves due to tournament policy, it can be a good thing to get in the habit of checking the backs of cards, if not just their set IDs. Also of note, Asian English sets were originally discontinued after the 5D set Raging Battle, but we've just had new 25th anniversary releases of 2 Asian English decks featuring the legendary Blue Eyes White Dragon and Dark Magician, as well as a couple of different sets including a complete import of Rarity Collection with Max C. The current Asian English cards now use the same back as the OCG, complete with the bluish-gray katakana. On the flip side, we'll now take a look at a couple of cards that were quite unique because of what was printed on the front. As a Labyrinth lover, I certainly enjoy my unfair share of cheesing out a card on the power level of pre-vaccination Crush card. That said, no one was eradicated quite as thoroughly as the Italians in May 2007, when the card Eradicator Epidemic virus debuted as a secret rare in Force of the Breaker. Possibly because of how the circular symbol that's used to denote third looks, a typo led to the card being printed to last a whopping 38 turns. With how long a single turn of Yu-Gi-Oh can take these days, I'd reckon playing this version could quite possibly cause the effect to linger longer than the entire pandemic. And finally, if you thought that was bad, this last one is for all those duelists who have been told they can't read. Anti-Aircraft Flower is a pretty forgettable card from the incredible Invasion of Chaos set. With how popular IOC was and how its legacy includes the eventual creation of the Forbidden section of the Forbidden and Limited list, it's no surprise that it's been a popular set for reprints over the years. The card silently became far more interesting in its Legendary Collection rerun, specifically when that product was released in its Game Board edition around 2013 or 2018 for Europe. The card is supposed to read, by tributing one insect-type monster on your side of the field, inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent's life points. from what I can only imagine involved some kind of automatic text replacement program a la the 𝕿𝖆𝖇𝖑𝖊𝖓 fiasco, the word tributing, which is still officially in the card database as intended, was replaced by the words no suggestions in parentheses. In other words, even reading the card gives you no suggestions on how you're supposed to inflict that 800 burn damage. If anything, that little skull mark ladybug should be healing life points. And there you have it. Let me know which of these 4 fun facts was your favorite down below, and I'll see you guys next time with 4 more.